Can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city light. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Farm and Pastor's Wife. I am so glad you're here. You are in my kitchen down on our farm, and I am thrilled that you are with me. Hey, if you are new here, please hit subscribe, hit that bell notification. Let me tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get lots of cooking videos, farming videos, day in the life of, grocery hauls. You're going to get a little bit of everything. It's basically life with Leslie and Bryant, but Leslie does a lot of cooking, so that's what today's going to be. Hey, and if you're not new here, welcome back. You guys know how much I love and appreciate you, each and every one of you. And let me tell you, please, or ask of you, please support my channel by sharing it with your friends and family. Let them know about it. It's a good, uplifting, Christ-centered channel, as well as Bryant and I just recently started a new channel, which is all faith-based. It is all spiritual things, and it's done more in a podcast style. So if you don't mind, go over there and check out Conversations with Bryant and Leslie. We would appreciate it so very much. Okay, let me tell you what kind of cake we're making today. We are making a brownstone front cake. Now, I don't think I have ever made this cake on this channel. I make one very similar. You may know I refer to it as my grandma's icing cake. The reason it's called icing cake is because that's what Caroline called it, because she loved the icing. So when she asked for it, she says, "Will you make the icing cake?" It is so delicious. My grandma's cake is so delicious. I think she referred to it as her chocolate devil's food cake. Devil's food cake, I believe, is the way she referred to it. So I don't know what it is. I know this one is pretty similar, but there is some differences. So with that being said, I'm going to get everything out and ready. We're going to use cake flour. The recipe I have, it was a lady. The recipe comes from a lady back in my husband's hometown when he was a child. And it comes from when we got married, we drove an hour to go to his home church, and it is their cookbook. It's out of their cookbook. And I know this is one that my sister-in-law really, really loves. And so we're going to just try it and see how close it is to my grandma's. I know it's a little different, so we're going to see. But anyway, it calls for cake flour, so that's what we're using. So I'm going to get everything set up and ready. I'll meet you back right here in just a split second. All right, so there's a few things I would like to get out of my way. So I have 3/4 cup of water right here. And the recipe says, I may have to get out another container of chocolate. It says to add in our cocoa to the water, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably follow this recipe now there's lots of stuff not in this recipe, like size of pan, type of pan, how long to bake. So we're winging some of it on our own. But I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of chocolate to this, and this is cocoa powder, just regular cocoa powder, to our water. And I'm going to give it a little stir. It takes a while for that chocolate to dissolve, and so I'll probably stir this a little bit occasionally because it does take a while. Cocoa powder does not like to dissolve well, so we're just going to keep stirring it. It will dissolve, It just takes a little while. So there it's starting already. And here we go. Now it's getting there. See, that didn't take long. All right, so I had enough, so I can put this away. I also want to be able, I've got my buttermilk out of the way, so we're gonna add in our soda. We're gonna add a teaspoon of baking soda to our buttermilk. So I'm gonna get that added here. And we're gonna give this. Now there's one thing that this recipe didn't call for that I am gonna add, and that is vanilla. I am gonna add some vanilla. I have a feeling it was just accidentally left off, but we're gonna add it. Okay, so what I wanna do now, I'm gonna keep coming over here and giving my chocolate a stir down. I want that to dissolve well. Ooh, sorry. We're going in with 3 cups of cake flour. Somebody went back. I'm going to try. I can't promise I'll always use. In fact, I'm going to use something different in a minute. But somebody had watched one of my old videos and they said, you use 4 cups instead of 2. And what I was using was a ½ a cup scoop. And so they counted it as 4. And so I'm going to try to be a little bit more, at least explaining what I'm using. So when I do use the ½ a cup scoop, which I'm fixing to use in just a minute. So there is our 3 cups of cake flour. All right, now I'm just going to use a hand mixer today. I am, you could definitely use a cake a stand mixer, but I'm going to choose to use a hand mixer today because, you know, cake flour is soft anyway, and my butter's at room temperature. So I think I'm just going to use a hand mixer. I don't want to drag out my stand mixer. I think I may have to back up and punt, but I think we can use this. And I love this one. A sweet viewer sent me this, and I love it. It's battery. There's no cord to worry with. So, all right. So what I'm going to put in here first is our butter. Oh, my buttermilk's I didn't think it would grow that much. So we're going to put it on here so I don't lose much. Lost a little bit, but that's okay. Were y'all watching that? Saying, Leslie, you're overflowing. Okay. All right, let's get our butter going. My oven is preheating to 350, and we're just going to eyeball it. I am going to do this in a layer cake form, so we're just going to eyeball it the best we can. And that was beautifully at room temperature. So let me check the sugar. We want 2½ cups of sugar. And here is my ½ cup scoop that the person thought I was using for a, but anyway. There's a half. There's a whole. There's a half. There's a whole. And a half. So 2½ cups of sugar. And we're just going to beat that really well. If you need to turn your volume down, please do so. I'm not going to take the time to cut the mic or the camera off. Okay, so now what we're going to add in here is we're going to go ahead and add, let's do our eggs. Let's do our eggs one at a time. beating well after each egg. That's kind of a staple cake making instruction, is after you add each egg, try to beat it well between each one. Again, I apologize if you need to cut your volume down, please do so. The reason I break it into here before I have gotten shells, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess up a whole cake or put a bad egg in. I've seen people do that. I'm pretty good at knowing if my eggs are ever bad or not. And it'd be better for me to crack it in here and find out it's bad than to ruin my whole cake mixture. That rarely happens. That's more with your farm eggs, like if you've missed them or something. But it has been known to happen. Even with store-bought. All right, so now we're going to add our cocoa and our water. All right, we're going to give this a stir. And it's going to kind of have like a curdled look right now, but that's okay. That's normal. Okay, so now we've got our cake flour and our buttermilk that we need to add. I'm going to alternate them. I don't care which one you start with and which one you end with. I like to end with milk. A lot of your recipes say it's better to do it the other way around. I have done it both ways, and I honestly can tell absolutely no difference. I just think it's best to do it alternately. I don't think it matters. They say it does, but I don't think it does. All right, so we're going to add, let me bring this over here. And we're going to add a little bit of our buttermilk and soda mixture. This cake is so easy to throw together. Oh my goodness. Once I get everything in, we will scrape down the sides because I can tell I'm missing some of the sides. So we'll fix that in just a second. All right, let's pour in the rest of our buttermilk. I'm getting it everywhere where it overflowed. And I don't want to miss any of it, so I am going to scrape. And while I have this in my hands, I'm going to go ahead and scrape the sides. And I'm also going to get what exploded or overflowed onto my saucer. I don't want to miss any. All right. And like I said, I'm going to take just a minute and scrape down the sides. There's plenty of cake flour on the sides. All right. All right, so let's add our vanilla now. And I just did a couple of teaspoons, whatever you think, tablespoon. Any of that is good. I think that being left out was just an accident on the I like to pull it out and slowly kind of pulse it to get all the batter off of the mixers. Now, I've got to spray my pans with bacon spray, and one of my sweet viewers sent me a tip, and I love it. It's such a great tip because I hate getting this greasy stuff all in my sink. I hate that. So you can only do it if your dishwasher is dirty, but to put your pan down kind of in the lid of the dishwasher, and spray it down there because it's going to get clean. You're going to run a set of dishes, and such a novel idea. People give me ideas and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like it's such a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? All right. So I have 2 pans here and here, and I kind of want to be sure I'm doing this evenly. So let me lay that right there for now. And I've just got a cup scoop, and I'm going to just alternate, trying to keep them as even. And I'm just doing 2. I may regret that and wish I'd done 3, but we're only going to do 2. Y'all, I was dreaming about making this cake last night. And I dreamed I messed up on the icing. And because there is one part of this cake that I told you, this cake is very similar to my grandma's, and there's even the icing is similar, and but there's one thing this cake does that my grandma's didn't. And in my sleep I was dreaming about it, and I dreamed that there wasn't enough icing and I was going to have to make some more. And then I realized, oh no, there's another step you have to do that you don't normally do. And I was just like, oh my goodness. You can tell you can tell when I've been thinking about making a recipe if I'm dreaming about it. All right, so we're going to go in with 1 spatula scoop in that one. 1 spatula scoop in that one. Half a little scoop in that one. All right, so these should be fairly even. And my bowl is pretty clean. Just enough for Bryant to run his finger around and lick his finger. Okay, so I'm guessing this is going to cook for about 30 to 35 minutes. These are 9-inch pans. Well, they're almost 9-inch pans. I measured them because I always get asked, what size pans do you use? And I never know. So I did look. These are 9. I got out a measuring tape, and they're way over 8 inches, but not quite 9, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to call it 9 and say we're good. And hopefully they won't puff up too much because I only did two pans instead of 3. But I'm not a big layer cake maker. And y'all know I definitely don't know how to decorate. So anyway, all right, let's get these in the oven. I'll see you when they come out. I did want to show this step because I didn't show it in there. I do drop it on the countertop a couple of times just to get out any air bubbles that may have, when I was plopping in. You can see one that came up to the top on that one. So that's just so you don't have any holes in your cake, air bubble holes. So, all right, now it's going in the oven. So while the cake is baking, real quick, let's go over the ingredients of the cake just in case I don't get it added. I should get it added, but just in case. So we've got 3 cups of cake flour. We have 3 tablespoons of cocoa added to 3/4 cup of water. We have 1 cup of buttermilk with 1 teaspoon added to the baking soda added to the buttermilk. We have 3 eggs. We have 1/2 pound of butter and 2.5 cups of sugar. And I did add vanilla to the cake batter. So that is our cake batter. And you saw how I incorporated it. I beat the butter with the sugar, add the water and the cocoa, add eggs one at a time. Let's check it. Not quite ready, so I've added 5 more minutes to the timer. Actually, this is twice I've added 5 minutes, so I put it in for 30, and so we're gonna hope it'll be coming out at 40, but we'll check. And it may have supposed to have been 3 pans, which would have cut the time back a little bit. So anyway, so I cream the butter and the sugar together. I add the eggs one at a time, beating well between each one. Added the water and the cocoa powder, and then beat that well. And then I alternated the flour, the cake flour, and the buttermilk soda mixture, alternated them together, and then added the vanilla at the end. Put them in round cake pans. I think mine were 9 inches. And so far, we're hoping it'll be ready at 40-minute mark. But since it could have been, the instructions didn't say what kind of cake pan, it didn't say anything. So, and it didn't give me a time frame. So we're just guessing. So hopefully at the 40-minute mark, it'll be ready, but we'll see. And let me go ahead and give you the ingredients for the icing. We're gonna use 1/2 pound of butter. We're gonna add 1 1/4 cup of canned milk or evaporated milk. We are going to add some sugar. Let's see how much sugar. 4 cups of sugar. We're going in with 4 cups of sugar. 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 2 tablespoons of flour. I need to get out my flour. Everything else is out and ready. And we'll do that on the stove top. I also need to get out a candy thermometer. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. But we're going to go to the soft ball stage. And that's just what this says. It doesn't give me a temperature or anything. My grandma's recipe says until it spins a thread. And the way I know it spins a thread is when I take a spoon and I lift it up. It's not dripping or pouring. It kind of strings almost. And that's how I know it's spinning a thread. But this thermometer does specifically say when the softball stage is, and that's at 240 degrees, so Fahrenheit. So I will go ahead and get that stuck. I love this because it has a bottom which keeps this from touching the bottom of the pan, because that gets hotter than everything, and so you can actually misread something. So I love my candy thermometer. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick that on there. And I also like to melt my butter before I add the sugar and so forth. But we're just waiting on the cake because I can be making this while it cools. So there you have it. I got to get my flour out, and we'll need our mixer again briefly for the icing. That is what is different than my grandma's. I mean, the recipe may be different as far as the amounts, but pretty much basically it's the same things. But I don't beat the icing with my grandma's. This one, you beat it up until it's fluffy. So, all right, I'll see you back in just a minute. All right, both cakes are out of the oven, and I'm definitely gonna have to do some cutting off the top, which is the part of the cake process, layer cake process, that I don't like. I'm gonna let these cool for a little bit. I'm gonna go get ready for the day. Once they're cooled, we'll start on the icing and doing a little bit of leveling off of these cakes, which again is the part of this process I don't like. So to avoid that, you could have done it in 3 pans, and that would have worked a little better. You still would have had to level it just a little bit, but yeah. So anyway, the cakes look wonderful. They ended up being, this one came out earlier than this one. I think this one was in for 43 minutes. This one was probably in for 45. So, and like I said, if you do it in 3 pans, it will cut your time down probably to the 30-35 mark, which is where I started watching it at 30 minutes. So, all right, I'm going to go get ready for the day. Just get my face and everything done, and I'll meet you back right here. All right, guys, are you ready to turn these cakes out? I'm getting some parchment paper here just to kind of lay them on. Like I said, this is the part I like the least, but hey, they popped right out, or this one did anyway. Popped right out. Oh, they feel so good. All right, so I don't have my other camera set up over there right now, and that's fine because I want you up here closer to me. And I'm just going to kind of take my knife and lay it on the natural edge. And just come straight across here. There we go. All right. I need a plate to put this in, because what I could do with this, let me give you an idea. Like, I took quite a bit off. I could actually kind of freeze this and make like a trifle, break it up and make a trifle. I'm actually going to take just a little bit more off right here. There we go. All right. So this one, I'm actually going to set back over on here, which may or may not be a good idea. Hopefully it'll come up off of it. Sometimes it likes to get stuck in those grates. Probably should have moved the parchment with it. Okay, this one's probably going to take off quite a bit more. This one really puffed up. So yeah, we could like mix ice cream, whipped cream, some raspberries, and have a trifle with this. So I'm going to bag this up, these crumbs, these pieces, and we can do something kind of cool with those later in the week. If I get some berries, I think some raspberries, some whipped cream, and that would be amazing. Maybe make some chocolate pudding or even vanilla pudding. All right, so I'm going to set this over here on the rack, and then we're going to get started on the icing. All right, let's move over here and get our butter melting. We're going to get this icing put together real quick, hopefully. We got to let it cool too. I also have to do a Facebook Live this afternoon, and so I got to get this done so I can get my Facebook Live done, get this video edited and out to you guys. No wonder I was having nightmares last night about this cake. I had too much on my plate. No, not really. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I was just kidding. So as the butter's melting, I'm gonna add in a cup and a fourth. So I'm gonna add a fourth of a cup more of evaporated milk. We're gonna get that to melting. Go ahead and put that in the sink and get it out of my way. I'm going in with 4 cups of sugar. And normally I like to go ahead and let my butter get melted, but we're gonna just go ahead and add everything in. So here's a half. Here's 1. Half. Here's 2. Half. Here's 3. A half. And here's 4. So, and one more thing, I'm going to add a couple teaspoons, well, 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I don't usually measure. So I'm going to kind of take my whisk and start getting this sugar down in that butter and milk mixture. And then when it gets to going good, I'm actually gonna, let me show you what I'm gonna, it gets really, really hot. So when it gets to going good, I put one of these on. And I really, this is like permanent jewelry, like there's no clasp. And it's funny, if I'm doing this and I'm holding my arm over here, it gets really hot sometimes. So think about that. I love the permanent jewelry. My niece, Lachelle, you've met her before. She sells it. She does the permanent jewelry stuff, and I love it. And I just sleep with it. It don't bother me one bit. Now, if you have medical procedures, a lot of times they'll ask you to take it off. And mine I can slip mine on and off over my hand with no problem. Other medical, depending on what medical procedure you have and who's doing it, sometimes they just put a nice piece of tape or gauze around it and they go on. But just something to think of, if you do ever have anybody in your area that sells permanent jewelry, you need to, if you've got an upcoming medical procedure, I would definitely wait. Or make it loose. They can add a clasp to it, or they can, mine's just loose enough where I can slide my hand in and out. All right, so what I'm gonna do, the butter is pretty much melted in here. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit and let it get to the 240 degree mark, which is the soft ball stage. I'm going to cut the heat off at that point and just let it kind of cool down a little bit. And then I'm going to take my hand mixer. I could do it with a whisk, but I think I'm going to use my hand mixer to beat it up till it's nice and creamy and fluffy, and not really fluffy like a buttercream fluffy, but you'll see. All right, so I think everything is dissolved well. So now we're just waiting for it to come up to a nice boil, and I'll bring you back when that happens. All right, I don't know if you guys can see, but it is boiling at this point. So I'm gonna straighten up my thermometer here, and I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Not off, but just down. If it starts growing too much on me, I may have to pick it up off the burner. But we're just going to get it to 240 degrees. It is at about 210 right now. And you might want to move your thermometer over just to get there so you can whisk, so there's not any, it doesn't burn in one area. Turn it up just a little bit, not much. See, this mitt keeps my bracelet from getting too hot too. All right, I'll bring you guys back when we hit the 240-degree mark. All right, everybody, we are almost there. We have about 2 degrees left to go. And I wanted to show you, and I will when we get over there, that there might get some little brown caramel looking like flecks in here, and that is totally fine. Now, if those brown caramel looking flecks were black, you would not want that. But these little brown flecks it's just a caramelization of the sugar and the butter, maybe where I didn't stir one little section, and for real briefly, it happened so fast. But let me tell you, I want those flecks in there. It is an added flavor that is so good. But like I said, it can happen so fast, and those little brown flecks can turn to black. And you definitely do not want any black flecks, because that is burnt and that won't taste good. But I believe we're pretty much here. So I am going to cut the heat off. I did want to see how close this is to spinning a thread, like my grandma says, to see if I could use a candy thermometer for hers. I never know what spinning a thread is, what temperature that is. So, all right, I'm going to cut the heat off now. And let's see. That's pretty doggone close to spinning a thread. See how it drips and it kind of pulls down? See how it pulls down as it drips? And it's not like liquid. That's pretty close to spinning a thread. So, all right. So I have cut the heat off. I'm going to let this cool down for just a little bit. And once it cools for a little bit, we will we'll take the hand mixer to it and whip it up. But I need to go find a cake plate and be sure it's nice and clean and dusted off. And so that's what I'm going to work on now. I'll meet you back when it's time to put this cake together. Okay, everybody, it's almost cool enough. We're going with it. I did put this in here. You want to get it to about 120 degrees. Let it cool down to 120 degrees. But it's not quite there, but almost. So I'm going to... Let me rinse my fingers. And what you want to do now is, like I said, you could do this with a whisk, but I'm going to use my hand mixer. And we're just going to go in and beat it a little bit until it's nice and fluffy. It's very granular right now. Maybe a little too warm. I'm going to beat this for about 5 minutes and I'll bring you guys back. Alright, so this icing has very much, just like my grandmother's did, a kind of a crusty type texture to it. I don't know how well this one is going to spread. It's kind of more like candy right now. So we're going to see. I don't know. We're going to see. All right, and I did, whoops, sorry. Alexa, stop. I did what I knew I probably shouldn't do, And that is cut on my cake a little more. I did cut on my cake a little too much. So I may have cooked this a little too long, but I got it to where it said it was the softball stage. So we'll see. So far, I like my grandma's icing, but I haven't tasted this. So don't do nothing yet, because and the reason I did this cake is because it was similar to my grandma's, and I wanted to try a new cake, but I was craving my grandma's devil's food cake. So this is not a fun icing to work with right now. So we'll see. All right, I'm going to go on with the second layer. All right, and I'm going to get something different than this offset spatula. I may come back to that, but I feel like the icing is just a little too stiff. It has that crusty texture that I was telling you about. Whoops, look, and I'm losing it. My cabinet was clean, so we didn't lose it. It's just right here on my cabinet. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to kind of put everything up here. Let's get that off. Get that off. It just doesn't seem to be as spreadable as my grandma's. It's a little thicker. So we may have went a little too far with it, but hey, live and learn. Live and learn. All right, so I am just going to kind of spread this down. Now it's actually doing quite well now if it's stuck to the cake. Maybe I spoke too soon. It's actually doing quite well. It's a whole lot different. Please don't be expecting like a buttercream texture. It's almost like a caramel candy laying down over your cake. Oh my. So right now, I'm feeling hopeful. That's always a good thing. Of course, you guys can't see what's happening here, but it's, oh my. Oh yes. Still quite a bit different than my grandma's. Now, I fixed my grandmother's in a sheet pan just because y'all know I'm not fond of layer cakes. I love to eat them, but I don't like to bake them because I'm not a good decorator. Now, I do have quite a bit over here that has no icing, so I'm kind of trying to pull some over here. Come on. It says, no, I don't want to stick to the cake. I want to do my own thing. So, and you just kind of press, I'm assuming. I do still think I went a little too far on the cooking of the icing. That's okay. My thermometer may have been a little bit off. And this is my first time making this cake. So, All right, so let me just keep working on this. I've just about got it iced completely. So I'm going to keep working on it. I'll bring you back when I get it done and we're ready to taste it. Okay, guys, here it is. So I'm going to take out my wax paper or parchment paper. I don't have it centered on the cake plate, but that's okay. I will call Bryant and we'll do a taste test in just a little bit. Okay, everybody, Bryant is nowhere near. He is nowhere near, so guess who gets to do the taste test? Me! I'm the only one here today. So, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, so since my cake is off center, we're going to cut over here on this. Yum, yum. Okay. Let's give it a whirl. Now, I'm going to write the instructions just as they were written in the cookbook. So do not fuss at me because there's not a cake size. There's not an amount of time. I'll tell you in notes down below what I did. But I'm going to type it out just like she had it. So very much like my grandma's cake. Very, very much. Now, if you're not used to the texture of this icing, it's not creamy and smooth like a buttercream. There's a little bit of a granular, not gritty, but almost like a little crusty to it. It's so good. Very much like my grandma's cake. I can't say that one's better than the other. Very much. All right, guys. Let me let you see it on the inside. It's so pretty. That is good. Good, good, good. Okay, I think Caroline will absolutely love this because it is so much like my grandma's icing cake. I think she will absolutely love it. So, all right, I'll be giving her some of it, that's for sure. All right, I will see you guys next time on The Farming Pastor's Wife. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, the grease is hot enough, you can fry anything. Bye, y'all.